Hello MotoGP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Severe storms have thrown MotoGP's return to Brazil into doubt after heavy rains flooded parts of the Autódromo Internacional de Goiânia. With the paddock tunnel and several track sections underwater just days before the Grand Prix, organizers and teams are racing the clock to make the circuit safe and usable for practice. Marc Márquez arrived in Goiânia ahead of the Brazilian Grand Prix and framed the weekend as a fresh, unpredictable challenge for the entire grid. With the Autódromo Internacional de Goiânia largely unfamiliar to most riders and extreme heat and weather a factor, Márquez stressed the need for caution and adaptation as he seeks to rebuild momentum after a difficult opening round in Thailand. Michelin will bring a high-temperature tire specification to Goiânia that could complicate life for Ducati and Marc Márquez this weekend. After a tricky opening round in Thailand, where heat, grip swings and a puncture undermined Ducati's pace, the tire supplier has opted for reinforced compounds aimed at demanding circuits, a choice that reshuffles the technical picture for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Marc Márquez has cast doubt on matching Valentino Rossi's longevity in MotoGP, saying he does not expect to race into his 40s. The reigning world champion, now 33 and recovering from multiple surgeries, described his career as entering a final phase and stressed the need to weigh physical limits against competitive desire as he plans the coming seasons. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Torrential downpours left standing water in critical locations, most notably the paddock tunnel, where accumulated water has hampered team operations and logistics. Several corners and runoff areas were reported as partially submerged, forcing maintenance crews to prioritize drainage and surface checks. The images from Goiânia resembled a weather emergency more than a pre-race paddock, raising immediate concerns about whether the circuit can be restored in time. Track staff have deployed pumps and drainage teams around the clock to clear water and inspect asphalt integrity. Organizers insist the Grand Prix is not cancelled, but they acknowledge multiple safety checks remain before any on-track activity can resume. The priority is ensuring runoffs, curbs and access routes meet MotoGP safety standards. With practice sessions looming, the effectiveness and speed of these recovery efforts will determine whether the weekend proceeds as planned. Forecasts predict more rain over the coming days, a seasonal pattern for the region that complicates recovery efforts. Continued showers would hamper drainage work and could force schedule changes or contingency plans. Organizers and FIM officials are monitoring forecasts closely while preparing for rapid responses. The unpredictability of tropical storms means the situation could evolve quickly, keeping teams and fans on edge. Goiânia is largely unfamiliar to most riders, reducing the time available to learn the circuit under normal conditions. Flooding further compresses that margin. Limited dry running would make setup work and track learning far more challenging, increasing the risk of incidents if sessions go ahead on a compromised surface. For riders and engineers, the combination of an unknown layout and disrupted preparation is a significant competitive and safety concern. MotoGP and local organizers have contingency options, from revised session timings to more extensive inspections, but cancellation remains a last resort. Officials emphasize that rider safety and circuit integrity are non-negotiable. Any decision will prioritize those factors over commercial or scheduling pressures. Teams are preparing for multiple scenarios, including compressed practice windows or altered timetables, while keeping an eye on official communications. What should have been a celebratory return to Brazil has been overshadowed by extreme weather and logistical headaches. With the paddock and parts of the track flooded, the weekend now hinges on successful drainage work and a break in the rain. MotoGP's focus is clear: restore the circuit safely or make the difficult call to alter plans. Because at this stage, the weather, not the grid, is the biggest rival in Goiânia. Márquez stressed that the Brazilian GP stands apart because the paddock has almost no recent experience to lean on. Goiânia is unfamiliar terrain for nearly everyone, which means no rider arrives with a real advantage. The Brazilian GP will be a unique race for everyone. We don't have much to go on. In a championship that often hinges on fine details, a blank canvas can be both exciting and dangerous. On a track like this, the first teams to find a rhythm on Friday may shape the whole weekend. Márquez's first race of 2026 did not go to plan. A rear tire puncture ended his day early, and it came in a race that was already emotionally significant because it was his first appearance back after injury. That made the setback feel even heavier. For a rider who thrives on momentum, starting the season with a retirement is not ideal. But a new venue offers a chance to turn the page quickly. Despite the uncertainty, Márquez sounded genuinely upbeat about being back in front of a strong MotoGP fanbase in a new country. He expects the circuit to be short, demanding and likely very hot, which will put adaptation and discipline at a premium. In any case, I'm happy to be arriving in a new country with a large MotoGP fanbase. The track is very short, and it will probably be extremely hot. We'll make the most of Friday to adapt without making any mistakes. Concluded. That last point may be the biggest one. On a circuit nobody fully knows, Friday practice is not just preparation, it is survival. Bagnaia arrives with his own questions. He finished 9th in Thailand, but Ducati's internal picture was mixed, and he knows that Brazil will reveal the first real performance order of the weekend. The curiosity before arriving at a new circuit is always great. I'm really looking forward to it. The track is really small, but we'll see the real figures on Friday, Bagnaia said. Bagnaia's tone is measured rather than dramatic. He understands that at a brand new venue, the headline riders may only discover their true level once the stopwatch starts speaking. Bagnaia also pointed to the atmosphere around MotoGP's return to Brazil, saying he is curious to see how the crowd reacts. That energy could lift the whole weekend, especially at a track where every rider is learning in real time. It will be a demanding day. I'm also curious to see the fans' reaction. They seem really passionate about MotoGP. In places where MotoGP has deep enthusiasm but limited recent history, the emotional backdrop can be as important as the technical one. Friday may decide not just lap times, but confidence. Brazil feels like a race without a map. For Márquez, that makes it a test of adaptation after a painful season opener. For Bagnaia, it is a chance to measure Ducati's true level on fresh ground. Neither rider is pretending to have all the answers, and that is exactly why Goiânia should be compelling. The fastest learners on Friday may become the frontrunners by Sunday. Michelin confirmed it will supply the same high-temperature soft and medium compounds used in Thailand, designed to withstand extreme heat and heavy loads. The reinforced construction aims to reduce failures on abrasive or hot tracks, but it also changes the grip and handling window teams must manage. We're bringing the high-temperature one. The specification is conservative from a safety standpoint but may not suit every bike equally. Ducati's Desmosedici showed vulnerability in Buriram when rear tire issues and a puncture cost Marc Márquez and disrupted the manufacturer's long podium streak. The high-temperature compound tends to favor machines that perform well on lower grip surfaces, potentially blunting Ducati's advantage on high-grip tracks. If Goiânia's surface proves slick or the tires behave differently in Brazil's heat and humidity, Ducati could again find itself on the back foot. Michelin pointed to a mix of factors that affected Thailand: higher temperatures, humidity shifts and rain between test and race, all of which altered perceived grip. Goiânia's expected heat and the circuit's unknown surface add further variables, making tire behavior harder to predict. Teams must be ready to adapt setups quickly as practice data arrives, because small environmental changes can have outsized effects on tire performance. Michelin noted that Aprilia has historically coped better with lower grip conditions, while Ducati tends to excel when grip levels are high. That suggests Aprilia and other manufacturers whose chassis are less sensitive to grip swings could benefit from the reinforced compounds. Riders and teams that prioritize tire conservation and chassis balance will likely extract the most from the weekend. The tire choice could reinforce the early season narrative that Aprilia and certain Agile packages are better placed on tricky surfaces. Ducati personnel privately flagged tire concerns after Buriram, but Michelin's director stressed that issues extend beyond compounds to track conditions and setup choices. Teams will focus on gathering baseline data in Friday practice, refining suspension, electronics, and cooling strategies to suit the reinforced tires. Rapid adaptation and clear rider feedback will be decisive in turning Michelin's conservative choice into a competitive advantage rather than a handicap. Michelin's decision to bring high-temperature, reinforced tires to Goiânia prioritizes safety but complicates the competitive map, particularly for Ducati. With an unfamiliar circuit, hot conditions, and a tire that shifts the grip window, the weekend will reward teams that translate limited running into precise setups and tire management. For Márquez and his rivals, tire strategy may prove as influential as outright speed in Brazil. In a wide-ranging interview at an Estrella Galicia event, Márquez reflected on how long he intends to remain on the grid. While he still feels motivated to race, the cumulative toll of injuries and operations has shaped a more pragmatic outlook. He acknowledged that, unlike Valentino Rossi, who raced into his 40s, he does not see himself doing the same. "I'm only 33, I hope to extend my career as long as possible, but I've also undergone several surgeries. I won't even make it to 40, don't worry." The remark underlined a rider balancing ambition with realism about the physical demands of elite motorcycle racing. Márquez's comment comes after a mixed start to the season in Thailand, where a controversial sprint penalty and a dramatic late puncture in the Grand Prix curtailed his weekend. Those incidents, combined with the memory of a lengthy recovery from a serious arm injury, reinforce why he is cautious about long-term plans. The combination of on-track setbacks and off-track recovery has made longevity a live issue for the 9-time world champion. Multiple surgeries and extended rehabilitation periods have forced Márquez to weigh contract lengths and career commitments more carefully. Reports of short-term deals or options reflect a rider who wants flexibility as he assesses his body's response to continued racing. Pernat and other observers have suggested Márquez's contract choices mirror his desire to avoid prolonged suffering. Contract structure can be as revealing as public statements when a top rider is managing the endgame of a career. Márquez's achievements already place him among the sport's greats, but his focus now appears to be on finishing on his own terms rather than chasing longevity records. He accepts that physical limits and quality of life after racing are legitimate considerations, and he prefers to prioritize performance and health over matching historical milestones. The stance reframes success, not only by years on the grid but by the manner and timing of a rider's exit. With Márquez trailing in the early championship standings after Buriram, his short-term priorities are clear: recover, score points, and adapt to Ducati's package. Long-term, his admission about not racing into his 40s signals potential succession planning at Ducati and across the paddock as teams eye younger talents like Pedro Acosta. Márquez's timeline could accelerate conversations about future lineups and the transfer of leadership within top teams. Marc Márquez's candid remark that he won't even make it to 40 framed a sober view of a champion who has already achieved extraordinary success but now measures choices against physical reality. As he balances recovery, contract talks, and on-track ambitions, the paddock will watch how he manages the closing chapters of a career that has reshaped modern MotoGP.